Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here by Asian Weather Forecast. And I do apologize for not posting I think within the past 2 days. I really do apologize for that, between being sick, of course, and then I was just very busy yesterday. I really do apologize for that. But we're gonna be back to my regular schedule, and in this video, we're gonna be doing another long-range tropical forecast, since there's not really much other weather-wise, even though there is an enhanced risk. So in this video, I am going to be talking about whether the tropics can wake up late June and then carry on into early July, because there's a lot of trends with very variable conditions, and it looks like there's going to be possibly a pretty big wave in activity compared to June. And it looks like we're going to start seeing a really active July. So can we start seeing that activity start blowing up already and then carry on into the first week of July? That's exactly what we'll be going through this video. So I'm not going to make like actual predictions on storms and all of that. Just going to be an overall forecast on where we can watch out for the next few weeks. But without further ado, let's go ahead and again look at the forecast. Here's a look now at the National Hurricane Center forecast and the 5-day tropical weather outlook, and you can kind of see we do have a lot of a different view on this. You can kind of see that now Tropics from Claudette is back and running just like the Europeans showed it. So we got Tropics from Claudette. It actually did form over land. It went through the brown ocean effect here, so it kind of did do that twice, which is definitely very rare for a storm in general, but especially rare for a June storm. So right now, sitting at 40 miles an hour. I believe it's expected to become 45 miles an hour. And then minimal central pressure is of thousands of millibars, and it is moving east-northeast of the jet stream at 28 miles an hour, and it's kind of slowly but surely kind of moving away from the warmest Gulf Stream waters. And then we have a new system here. We actually do have a new area of interest, or AOI, and surprisingly, it's already a 30% for the next 48 hours and the next 5 days. I do believe it was a 10% earlier today, this morning, and then went to 20%, and now it's a 30%. So, I mean, there is some really high confidence within this thing here. So I do believe it's not an invest just yet, but this could very well be Invest 95L. So we do have a tropical wave located 750 miles east-southeast of the Windward Islands. It is producing disorganized showers and a few thunderstorms. So we are seeing a tropical wave with moisture coming off Africa, all that SAL and dry air to the north. So there are going to be some very favorable conditions, which we'll be mentioning throughout the video. But yeah, we are watching out for this. Expected to move westward and then west-northwestward at 50 to 20 miles an hour. There is some additional development of the disturbance will be possible during the next couple of days before upper level winds become less conductive for further organization by Thursday. So this does only have basically 3 to 4 days before this overall conditions, including wind shear, kind of do take over. But 3 to 4 days looks like it's going to be good enough maybe for this system, as they jumped it from no invest yesterday to already at 30% for 48 hours. So here's looking at the actual IR brightness temperature on this actual area. So obviously, you can kind of just overall see where this thing is. There's obviously no other convection areas or thunderstorms around this. We actually do have up to -60 to almost -70 degrees Celsius on these higher cloud tops. So there are some cold cloud tops, but due to it really being very hot on the region, obviously over day, we do expect this to obviously look pretty trash, considering not only is it just new and it's not even an invest at the moment, but this could very well gain a lot more convection as we go into overnight hours, as the temperatures do cool off, allowing it for it to be easier for these cloud tops to get cold, allowing for a better chance of thunderstorms and as well just overall better convection. So this could very well be an invest possibly by the 11 o'clock advisory and maybe even 5 o'clock advisory. Who knows? They may put it back to maybe a medium risk for the next 5 days, or maybe even a medium risk for the next 48 hours. So I think a 40-40 cannot be ruled out based on the trend that's been going on. It went from 10-10 to 20-20 to now 30-30. So I guess we can all guess it's going to be 40-40 next, or maybe even a larger jump, because obviously they do have some type of confidence in this. You can kind of see the little whites, all that cloud cover. There is a lot of cloud cover there, and that main convection is, I know this is Venezuela, I know this is down here like Brazil, the tip of Brazil. I'm just not familiar with these two countries here in South America. I think one's like British something, and then I really don't know. I'm not even gonna try to guess because I feel like I'm gonna embarrass myself. But I know this is Venezuela. I know right here is Colombia, and this is Brazil. But if anyone knows, that's exactly where that low pressure is to the north there. But that's exactly obviously we're watching out. The thing is, this convection is very widespread. It's very widespread. Disorganized showers, like it did say. And if we do get more convection, these thunderstorms could very well start popping off and see more lightning, which will be a sign of this getting convection overall looking better, which we will have to wait to see what happens this evening. So let's go ahead and get a look now at the European probability for a tropical depression winds here. So at the moment we actually do have a 50 to 60% very widespread across the Similarly region, and this is 0 to 3 days. So obviously it's going to kind of be far to its future track. So it actually looks like this will be near the Windward Islands in southern Lesser Antilles, which is actually I believe where like was it Gonzalo? Yeah, I think Gonzalo was similar there, not too long ago. It's just about to be a year from now, and we actually do now have a small 60 to 70%. So we already have a 60 to 70%, which is why they're most likely watching out for this. And this is not even an invest yet, so very interesting. Now, I believe this is going to be the next 1 to 4 days. They still have that widespread, even bigger as 60 to 70. So it looks like by the next 1 to 4 days, it will be right here and possibly heading for the Lesser Antilles and Windward Islands. The U.S. Virgin Islands, you guys should miss this, obviously, track-wise. Doesn't mean this, I really don't think this will be anything big, though, but there are some decent tropical depression wind probabilities. Tropical storm wind probabilities, there are basically none. So if anything, this really will be very weak, but we have to keep a very close eye on it. Let's not go ahead and get looking at the overall conditions in the Atlantic Basin, just so we can get a look at where we're watching at for the next few weeks and just how the conditions are in those areas. So right now, SST at the moment currently, as of today, June 21st, we do have some very warm temperatures for the MDR, getting up to around 28.5 to some spots there, 29 degrees Celsius. Overall, seeing a pretty nice functioning Gulf Stream, seeing anywhere from 28 to 30 degrees Celsius between Cuba and the Keys and as well near the Bahamas. And then we're seeing anywhere from maybe 26 to 28 there in the Gulf Stream. Actually, that's the reason why we're going to be seeing Claudette reform, not only because it's a weird storm and it's forming over land, but because we do have the Gulf Stream as well, helping the storm, especially as it goes to the east-northeast. It will be following the stream with almost 24 to 26 degrees Celsius. Overall, areas to really watch out for late June into early July. By far, my number one spot to watch out for is the MDR. I have been talking about MDR July for a while, ever since I believe early May. I've been talking about it. Maybe even mid-May, I've been mentioning the MDR. There's something about the MDR in July that screams to me. And now that we're close enough, you can kind of see the conditions are already almost perfect. Large spots of really unseasonably low shear. Same thing with unseasonably low SAL. It's just looking good, and we're seeing overall really good temperatures already. My second area to really watch out for will be the Western Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. So overall portion of the Western Atlantic. And my third area to really watch out will be overall portion of the Gulf Stream. So there's a lot. I mean, a lot of these areas are above average. Specifically the Gulf of Mexico, they're getting nearly 29 degrees Celsius, seeing really warm temperatures there between, actually really warm temperatures near Hispaniola and Cuba, getting almost 31 degrees Celsius waters. But let's not go all the way to June 29th. And look how different the waters are. The Gulf Stream is getting a lot warmer now, getting 29 degrees Celsius, just a few hundred miles, or a few, maybe 50 to 100 miles from Savannah, Georgia, and Jacksonville. Look at these waters in the MDR. They are becoming a lot warmer in the actual region, nearly touching 29 or even 30 degrees Celsius waters. The Gulf Stream, or the Gulf of Mexico, is basically anywhere from 28 to above. So, I mean, at this point, the Gulf of Mexico is going to be a lot warmer. However, for some reason, it looks like the Caribbean will stay a little bit cooler. But due to this, oceanic content is going to be very high and climbing for this region, including the Western Caribbean, Yucatan Peninsula. But look at the overall differences. Look at, maybe right here is a big difference. We're seeing possibly 30 degrees Celsius on June 29th. And now, right now, we're only seeing basically 28.5. So it's basically a degree or maybe a degree and a half Celsius above, we're different. But right now, let's go ahead and look at the actual SSTs here for this area of convection. And we actually do have some really good temperature SST-wise. It's basically right here at the moment. So it is actually at 28 degrees Celsius. And as it continues in the next few days, it will actually, the waters will get warmer in the next few days as the storm tracks to the northwest. You see by the 23rd, these waters are a lot warmer now just outside of those two countries. I had no idea. I mean, I know a lot of countries in South America. I'm just telling you those two. I really don't know. So I'm telling you guys. I promise I'm not dumb when it comes to geography. Now, shear wise, I don't know how to explain it. There's basically no shear at all where this thing is. I mean, there's basically no shear whatsoever. Look at all this. No shear at all. You don't typically see this whatsoever in the MDR when it comes to June. I mean, this is just unseasonably low. I mean, yeah, we're not even seeing a La Nina. We're not even close to a La Nina right now. And somehow we're seeing perfect conditions in the MDR. I mean, it's just unexplainable. What, I don't know. I mean, not we didn't see conditions like this with that strong La Nina last year. Obviously, we did have a lot of SAL and all that. She was just really high last year, and now it's just very, very low. There's really no medium at this point. So where this low is right now, it's basically maybe max 10, 12 knots, and then it has a whole area of less than 7 knots, basically, which is just absolutely nothing. As it goes later on, though, into the 23rd and 24th, like I did say, shear will be, or it will encounter shear by the 24th when it comes to the Lesser Antilles, which is why we're not watching out for a long track hurricane going like that, because it will get confronted when it comes to the Southern Caribbean. But it does have from basically here. Oops, I don't want to do highlighter. It basically comes from here to here. That's exactly where we're watching out. This whole area is to watch out for tropical depression, and that's why the probability is so low, or sorry, so high, and it's why 48 hours and 5 days is so even. I mean, look at that shear. It's gonna really encounter shear. So basically, it has till the 24th. So it basically has 3 days, maybe 4 days if it's lucky. But right now, there's basically no shear. Let's not go ahead and look at the overall forecast now after that. So still, this year is going to be really pretty low overall across the MDR. You can kind of see 0 knots off Africa, 0 knots there in the MDR, an area of 0 knots there across the southwest, southeast Gulf. Sorry, I was about to say southwest. Does not match up the actual direction there. But overall, I mean, shear's going to be abnormally low. I mean, look at that, June 29th. There's almost just no shear whatsoever. Obviously, there are pockets of over 20 knots, but those pockets are very, very small, which is why I'm watching after the MDR as my number one spot, because although the Western Caribbean does have warmer waters, and obviously overall do have larger moisture waves in South America at this time of the year, the shear is going to be a lot higher there and a lot more frequent. Just compare these areas, compare these circles, you see a lot more shear there, and basically no shear here whatsoever. So I'm really watching out, though, for the last few days and last week of June into the first weeks of July. I'm actually thinking July will be a very, very active month compared to its average, because I do believe July only averages around 2 storms per season, or per month, obviously. So I do think this season, or overall the season, will be active, but just July specifically, July itself will be very active. I'm not going to give exact numbers, but let's just say I do think July 2021 could be more severe, or at least similar to July 2020, because obviously July 2020 was above average compared to the monthly average, but overall it just wasn't. I'm just not going to go into details right now, but here's like the moisture bubble. So there is a moisture bubble within this low pressure. Obviously, there is moisture within the thunderstorms and discrete scattered storms. Although there is a little bit drier outside of this region, this moisture bubble is allowing for this to bend and keep its social distancing, basically. Just think about the dryer being COVID. And you kind of see as well, this moisture bubble is going to kind of push to the north, and once it passes the Lesser Antilles, it kind of really dies out. But then we're watching out for things like this. Big moisture waves and monsoon waves coming off Africa. That's exactly what we're watching out for. Things like this will be things we'll be watching out for the whole season when it comes to the MDR. Whether they're going to be hurricanes, tropical storms, or just overall lows, and then they make their way into the Western Atlantic. Same thing here. I mean, I do think this year, like I did say, I said it multiple times, I think this year could very well be a 2017 type MDR, where we have waves at one after the other, and that's going to be allowing for maybe multiple storms at the exact same time heading for the same areas. So that's exactly why I have this whole area under my bullseye, because if we do have an MDR year, where are these storms going to go? Straight to the Caribbean, maybe a few at the sea, but I mean, that's exactly where we're watching out for moisture like that. And As well, overall, we could be watching out maybe for some moisture coming off South America like this. And it's going to as well be something to watch out for when it comes to Western Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. But overall, going to really watch out overall. I mean, if we do see moisture kind of come off South America like that, go up Cuba, just look at what happens though. Actually, the JFS is showing a storm or maybe even a hurricane for the Northeast Gulf right now. This is exactly what you need to watch out for. If you see moisture come off South America, there's a very warm ocean heat content there. This thing just blows up. Very little dry air. SAL really won't reach there unless it's a historic big wave. And this is exactly a scenario we got to watch out for throughout the whole season. And that's exactly why Western Caribbean and overall Gulf of Mexico is going to be my second area to watch out. To show you guys that we're seeing a pretty strong monsoon, at least for the next, as far as July 7th, just look at the amount of moisture we're seeing here off Africa, getting over basically 3 feet. That's 51 inches, but that's going to be for obviously the EPAC, but we can kind of tell by the color coordination that this is definitely over 30 inches, maybe even 40 inches of rain off Africa. And this is going to be a trend between the MDR and as well a trend here for the Western Caribbean and Western Atlantic. So we're watching out for these areas, and we're watching out for these areas as well. So just this is generally the main areas we watch out for as well in July. But typically the MDR is never the number one, because a lot of times the potential in the MDR does get prevented or stopped until the peak season. So that's why we kind of watch out for the actual Western Atlantic for the July period being number one. But this season, these conditions overall are just, I can't explain them. They're just really good. Let's go ahead and look at the actual SAL though, because obviously sometimes SAL can pick up and not be picked up as dry air in the main models. But there's not going to be any dry air SAL, Saharan dust, Saharan air layer anywhere near this actual low pressure. So the low pressure is basically right in a dent, and the reason why it kind of moves up like that is because of course the moisture bubble. That moisture bubble is kind of keeping that dry air out. Exactly why moisture bubbles are important, because it keeps a lot of that stuff out. Although as it goes on to the 23rd and 24th near the Lesser Antilles, that dry air and SAL continues to actually decrease. But of course there is going to be that upper layer winds and shear that's going to bring in these and kind of take down these areas. And kind of just overall take that storm apart. Even through basically, let's actually see here. So right now there's a pretty big wave of SAL, but even as we go through June 24th, June 25th, even look at June 27th, there's just absolutely no dry air off in the main area we're watching out for. Even June 28th, June 29th as well. I mean, even June 29th right here, obviously sometimes you can see storms develop off this way. So even though there's a lot of dust here, we can really watch out for storms down here that can go like maybe like that, or they kind of loop around like that. So either way, there's not going to be much SAL, except a pretty big wave. There will be maybe a big significant wave as of July 1st, but look at that. There is still a lot of moisture potential behind that. So that's going to be something very, very interesting. Let's not go ahead and actually look at the actual MSLP on the GFS 12Z. So there's the actual low pressure itself right there. I believe the GFS is not actually forming whatsoever into a tropical depression or storm. You can kind of see just dissipates into the Lesser Antilles. So very interesting though. Now the GFS is pick up on another area of monsoon wave coming off June 24th. That's exactly what we're watching at as well. Maybe for another thing, because it looks like it's rotating there. And then it goes north, getting closer to Cape Verde Island. So going to be really watching out for that, because either way, even though it doesn't look interesting or it's forming a hurricane, whatever, it's still got to be something to watch out for, because the MDR is just going to have something, just some potential. Even June 27th, we have something to watch out for as well. Let's go ahead and look at the actual Western Caribbean, though. That's exactly where the GFS is showing a big storm forming up there by June, possibly June 28th, June 27th. And then it has become a big, significant hurricane for a portion of the northeast Gulf of Mexico. So here look at the actual full GFS. For those obviously have weather models, does not show the full 2 or 384. So there you actually have that 1,007 millibar storm there, or system on the 26th. So we're really watching out for that. Like I said, they are showing another moisture bubble. They actually have that area disturbance, 1,014 millibars, and that they have dissipating. But let's go ahead and look at the actual hurricane or whatever, 988 millibars. Obviously, this is very, very far out. But the one thing I'm going to say is that models are becoming consistent with a low pressure developing in the region. So obviously that's the only reason why I'm going to be watching out for a low pressure, maybe even a storm when it comes to late June into early July, because they have been consistent for this for the past few days, but they just can't get the right location. They first should have major category 4 for Texas, destroying July 4th for the area. And now they have a potential category 1 hitting Mobile, maybe even hitting portions there, Pensacola, and going up Alabama, and then dying out in the Northeast. So there's just a lot of inconsistency with location and track. Obviously, that makes sense, but they are becoming more consistent with an actual low, which is interesting. Let's not go ahead and get a look at the actual more long range forecast models. Obviously, we're kind of looking at it for the past 10, 14 days. Now, let's go ahead and look a little bit deeper now, like monthly wise. So, obviously, I'm kind of really watching out more for June and July. I'm not going to go deeper into the actual season, but you can kind of see we are looking out for a main area right now, which will be the MDR. So look at the actual SST anomaly, Celsius for the CAN-TIPS for June. You can kind of see they are going to be above average, obviously, which is what we're seeing here across the MDR. And to July, these conditions just warm up dramatically across the MDR. You can kind of see as well, maybe some slightly above average temperatures SST-wise for the Western Caribbean. So definitely a little bit concerning here to watch out for how warm those SSTs are expected to be. Not only now, but they're as well expected to get a lot warmer according to the Kansas, which obviously it's a little bit closer. Obviously, we're talking next month, so they could definitely be a little bit more reliable than if you're looking at months out. Let's not as well look at the CFS daily, looking at the moisture, and there's going to be a ton of moisture from now, June 27th, or June 22nd, obviously now, tomorrow, and then all the way up to portions of August 4th. I mean, look at July 4th, July 5th, July 6th. There's a ton of moisture. And look at how much moisture there's going to be for portions of the Western Atlantic as well. So, as well, there's just going to be very, very good conditions for very active tropics. I mean, it's just bound to happen active tropics very soon. Let's go look at the European weekly forecast, which will be a lot more accurate. And as well as showing a ton of moisture there for the southern MDR. A lot of moisture there for a portion of the Gulf of Mexico, obviously for a specific reason. I mean, even as we go all the way into June or August 2nd, we're still going to be seeing a ton of moisture. I mean, this is legit 1,000 hours out, but boy, August 2nd, that's we're going to be seeing moisture all the way to August 2nd. So I'm going to go to August 1st, July 27th. I mean, we just see a ton of moisture all the way up throughout these areas, basically. So just very, very interesting. Really, really interesting as well. Let's go look at the actual pressure forecast, and we're going to be seeing very low pressure in July across the western African region and eastern Atlantic. So it's going to as well help these storms develop. So overall condition looking very, very good. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys later.